hoping to see Will take home the victory.
No. You know, he's doing great, but Schmitty will come through. I know he will.
I don't know. Are you just a fan because he's like a co-commish this year, or what?
Yeah, I mean, he's doing a pretty great job being co-commish, you know.
Yeah. I like all the green screen stuff he's been doing. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wait, is that?
There's no
way. Is that the commish?
What?
Are you serious? Hold on. Commish, is that you?
Hey guys.
What? What are you doing out here?
Just need some healthy players. If you have any healthy players.
What? Healthy? Oh, is your team not doing good?
It's been a little rough.
Yeah.
What in the... good luck.
Hello, folks, and welcome in to Week 2 of the Homies Fantasy Football Weekly Recap Show. Things are starting to heat up in the league. If you're in the Eastern Division, it's all or nothing. If you're in the West, it's all or the commish. And that's the way sometimes the cookie crumbles. We've got our first trade of the season going down, so lots of excitement to talk about. Without any further ado, let's turn it over to your favorite co-commish and mine. Take it away, Schmitty.
Thanks, Commish. Next time, maybe take an umbrella out with you. Things are looking pretty wet out there for you. But anyways, welcome back, everybody, to the Homies Fantasy Football League Recap Show. It's Week 2, and we've got some scores and highlights and stuff to get into for this last week. But before we do that, we've got our very first trade that has gone down in the league. It's between Adam and Patrick. The trade is Brandon Ayuk for Robbie Anderson. So congrats to the two of you on making the most irrelevant trade in the history of fantasy football. With that being said, let's get into the scores and highlights from this last week. Starting off, we've got our matchup between Matthew and Carlos. Matt coming in 1-0, Carlos coming in 0-1, and a pretty good week out of both players, but as we all know, only one of them can come out victorious. On the side of Matt, Josh Allen ended up with a pretty good week, and as did his co-partner and receiver, Stephon Diggs. Massive points out of them, but that was pretty much all the scoring for Matt, as they accounted for 75 points of his, and that was really all the support Matt got. Moving over to the side of Carlos, Jalen Hurts, another big-time game. Mike Williams stepping up big with the absence of Keenan Allen. Dallas Goedert in with a nice game as well. Overall, a very good week. Christian Kirk as well with 26 points. A great week this week for Carlos. 151 points out of him, just 128 out of the side of Matt. That gives Carlos the victory. He moves to 1-1. Matt dropping to 1-1 with his first loss of the season. Next up, we've got Adam taking on Dakota. That score is not photoshopped. That is very much real, even though Adam wishes it was photoshopped. Holy crap, one of the lowest scores I've ever seen out of a team in PPR fantasy football. A rough week for the commish. Again, yet another injury, but you know, I think you could have taken just about anybody and inserted them to the commish's team this week, and it really wouldn't have mattered. Just an absolute abomination of a performance. Not only doesn't it reach 100, doesn't reach 90, doesn't even reach 80 points. Just 77.76 points. And on the other side for Dakota, an absolutely phenomenal week. Carson Wentz against the absolute shootout that took place in Ford Field. 28 points out of him. Tyreek Hill in what was a phenomenal game between the Dolphins and the Ravens gets 42 points himself. Mike Thomas with another touchdown. He gets 18.5. Just a great week out of Dakota. 147 points, and I'm going to move on from this one before Adam has to shed any more tears or go find another street to salvage any kind of help for his lost cause team. Next up, we've got myself taking on Carlos, and I gotta tell you, as far as commissioners go, things are looking pretty good, at least on one side of the ball. We'll start with Carlos. Solid game out of Joe Burrow, nothing too bad to complain about, and other than that, his highest scoring player was Greg Dortch. Never heard of this guy before, but apparently he was the only valuable asset to Carlos's team this week, as he managed 15.5 himself, and with that, another team this week not even reaching 100 points. A rough week for Carlos. We'll see how he bounces back next week. But on the other side for your boy, not too bad. Patrick Mahomes, Not the game you like to see out of him, but, does the job. CeeDee Lamb out there with Cooper Rush, not looking too bad, 15 points. And how about the gem that is Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Black Cooper Cup, as we like to call him? He's been an absolute stud for Detroit, setting NFL records and helping your boy to more fantasy wins both last year and this year. It's great to have this boy not only on my NFL team, but on the fantasy team. Things are looking very good right now. And with that being said, another victory for you boy here in fantasy. Final score 122.5 to 94.5. I moved to 2-0. Carlos down to 1-1. Next up, we've got David taking on Orton, and man, just another one of the many blowouts that we had this week. Orton deciding to change his name to ETN, which I'm assuming is supposed to be Eaton. Booty for Mooney. I don't know if ETN is supposed to be some kind of acronym, something fearful like every team's nightmare, but right now he's looking like every team's bye week as he is off to a really tough start this season. Chances are right now, if you're facing off against Orton, your odds are looking pretty good for that week. But we'll start on the side of him as things weren't all bad, at least in the quarterback slot. He does have Lamar Jackson, which accounted for nearly half of his points this week with 42.5 points. James Robinson, a pretty good game out of him too, 15.5, and T. Higgins managing 19 points, playing off of that concussion injury, but a couple goose eggs out of DJ Chark and the Colts defense. Not a great week out of Orton, 106.5 points out of him. On the other side for David, a very good week out of him. Kyler Murray, nearly 26 points. DeAndre Swift continuing to be an animal in that Lions backfield, almost 17 points himself. Aaron Jones with 32 points. DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin with 13 and 12 respectively. Zach Ertz with 15. Buccaneers defense absolutely demolishing on the defensive special team side of the ball. 25 points out of them. A massive week for David leads to a 157-point stat line out of him. Absolutely demolishing Orton. And that sends David to 2-0 and Orton down to 0-2. Next up, we've got Craig taking on Jose. And not only, with the wife, the $100,000 job, and everything else that I'm sure Craig is enduring right now, he's also got a great start to this fantasy season, is that he put an absolute butt-whooping on Jose this last week. A massive week out of him. We'll give Jose his screen time and take a look at his scores from this week. Really the massive ones, Jalen Waddle in that dual receiver setup that they've got out there in Miami is looking absolutely fire. 40 points out of him with a couple of touchdowns. Darren Waller with 17. Curtis Samuel with 23 points. Gives Jose a pretty respectable week of 130 points. Can't really complain there, but on the other side for Craig, his team is looking pretty freaking good right now. 23.5 points out of Herbert, 18 out of Eckler, Nick Chubb with 32 points, Marquise Brown with 13, Mark Andrews with 26, Clyde Edwards-Helaire with 16, and that Bills defense with 22 gives Craig a massive number of 180 points this week, demolishing Jose. Craig moves to 2-A. Jose is falling on that scary number as a previous champion. He falls to 0-2. And for our final matchup of the week, we'll get away from the blowouts and we'll save an actually good game for the last. We've got Patrick taking on Will. And while neither team was super high scoring this week, especially if you look in their quarterback slots, pretty rough quarterback play out of each of them, especially on the side of Patrick with Trey Lance suffering a big-time injury, looking like he's going to end his season. He'll be on the market for a quarterback, surely. But this one was another fun one that not only was really close, but came down to Sunday night, which marked the end of this run for each of these teams. It was the Packers defense on the side of Patrick and A.J. Dillon on the side of Will. Will went into Sunday night with a very slight lead, and he needed every single ounce of it as he wins by roughly a point and a half, 127.5 to 126. Go through some notable players in this one. On the side of Patrick, Cooper Kupp continues to be an absolute monster. 32 points out of him, 15 out of Deebo Samuel, 25 out of Amari Cooper. He may not be dead yet, even though the Browns sure seem to be. And on the other side of Will, solid game out of Christian McCaffrey, 17 points, 21 out of Rashad Bateman. That gives Will the victory by a narrow margin of 1.4 points. Will, our reigning champion, moves to 2-0. Patrick falling to 0-2. That does it for our scores and highlights for week 2. We're a couple weeks in. We're kind of getting our feet wet here, setting the standings a little bit strong on some sides and not so strong on the others. But guys, it's early. We're 2 weeks in. We've got a long way to go. Another 12 weeks here in the regular season. Before we hit the playoffs, there's still plenty of time. Make sure to get those trades, those lineups set for Thursday night. But no worries, there's still plenty of time left to go in this season, which is, good news for some of us and unless you're Adam. But with that being said, we'll send it back out to Adam to close things out for this recap show. Commish, Take it away.
Thank you, Schmitty. I always do appreciate hearing a good Orton insult. There's nothing that makes me chuckle more. Well, like Schmitty said, it is still early in the season, so keep hope alive, keep working those trades and walking the waiver wire. Anything is still possible. Until next time, I'll see you later, nerds. So long.